I think we can agree that nobody likes writing essays, at least not at first. I used to absolutely dread writing essays until I figured out what it actually was that made me feel that way about them, like what specifically. And I feel like once I figured that out, I don't have to feel that way about them anymore, and I'm actually okay with writing them. I'm glad that through all the ups and downs I've had with literacy and writing in general, I'm at least at a point where I'm consistently okay with it. Probably the first time I can really remember being into reading was in elementary school when I read the Diary of a Wimpy Kid books. Now, these books mainly spoke to me because it felt like there was this fellow kid telling me what middle school, the thing I was about to go through, was going to be like. So it was really easy for me to get into them because I was like, oh, that's what my life's about to be like. One of the other biggest reasons that I really enjoyed it was because of the do-it-yourself book they made, which was filled with sort of these like Mad Lib style, fill in the blank, answer questions, do a little maze, that kind of thing. And at the end of the book, there was a little section where you could write your own journal. I didn't really write so much in mine, but I really remember reading my older brother's that he left at our grandparents' house. That, for me, was really cool, because I didn't know all these things about my brother that he wrote down in here, but it showed me how much more knowledge reading can give you. In English class, the biggest problem for me always seemed to be writing essays. I didn't really have trouble with actually writing and composing the sentences, but it was more so coming up with the ideas I wanted to talk about. I always did fine with grammar, DGPs, sentence structure, all that stuff. It was just really hard for me to actually decide what I wanted to say. One of the parts that I always actually really enjoyed about writing was when you get into that flow state where it's actually hard to stop. Of course, the hard part about that is actually getting into that state. And what I found is that having a good teacher or an interesting assignment topic can really make it a lot easier. The main teacher that sticks out in my mind as really having spoken to me was my 8th grade English teacher. He was one of those teachers where if you were the quote-unquote bad kid, you would think he was the worst teacher ever. He would openly talk about the times he had to hit kids with a paddle and like had this signed paddle in his room in the window. But for probably 95% of us, he was an amazing teacher. Despite all of the bad stuff he talked about, he made it clear that although he was strict like that, he really did care about us. In terms of projects I've had through school that actually stuck with me, and I feel like made me better at writing or multimodal sort of projects. There was one project my senior year. We had to recreate 2 consecutive scenes from Macbeth in a style of film of our choice. Now, as a film major, I'm obviously biased, but that's genuinely the best project I've ever had. I feel like projects such as that one and this one that incorporate other forms of media, namely video, film, give me like much more creative potential than just writing does. Once you write a few essays, you sort of get used to they feel monotonous after a while. They feel like it's the same thing. With film, there's so much you can do. Film just gives me so much more creative potential. I'm gonna get out of this one. Eventually. The other nice thing I've noticed about projects like that is it really allows me to bring out humor. I feel like anytime I'm able to turn a project into something that I think is funny or that makes other people laugh, I feel like it's only then I feel like I'm truly successful in it. Whew, it's tiring. As I said earlier, my biggest problem in English class was always writing essays. And one of my big frustrations with that was writing first drafts. In middle school, we didn't exactly have the ability to use computers to write a first draft or an outline meant you're writing 3 separate papers, basically. Is an agonizing
really
process.
made me just
not want to do it as a whole. This class helped me realize that you really just write down all your ideas and then you can adapt it into. And now I'm at a point where I genuinely am okay with writing essays. Being able to be okay with writing first drafts and writing down all the ideas in my head has namely helped me in one area outside of English, and that's with writing lyrics. My friends and I are in a band. Ignore the fact that they're on the green screen and not actually behind me. Our schedules didn't line up. We couldn't film it yesterday. Anyways, my friends and I are in a band called Comic Mischief, if you want to listen to it on Spotify. And one of the biggest problems we have is that I'm really horrible at writing lyrics. Usually it is the fellow frontrunner of the band who is writing most of the lyrics, because I will occasionally come up with an idea and put it down, but most of the stuff that I think of, I don't write down and I forget. Knowing what I do now about how first draft works and how that relates to a final draft for an essay, I'm going to start doing that with lyrics as well. In conclusion, despite the ups and downs of my literacy journey, I'm pretty comfortable with where I am right now, and I'm looking forward to where I go from here. I feel like I've not only learned things that help me in a school or work setting, but things that help me for fun as well, like writing lyrics for songs. Having the ability to brainstorm and polish my thoughts before making the final product, whatever that may be, makes me so much more confident in my ability to do so, and makes me really excited to see what I'm going to do with writing in the future.